I'm Diane Macedo. Today on ABC News Live, the deadly tornado slamming Louisiana. At least 50 twisters confirmed from Texas to Florida over the past 48 hours. This is we're seeing blizzard warnings in the north and an ice storm in the east. Here where the storm is heading next. The Federal Reserve is signaling more interest rate increases ahead after hiking rates yesterday. What it means for your mortgage, auto loans, and credit card bill. The big-name investors now speaking out after losing millions in the FTX collapse. Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary joins us live on how he was impacted and what it means for the future of crypto. But we begin with that massive storm sweeping the country. Parts of the northern plains are digging out from blizzard conditions and dangerous ice storms in the east, and at least 3 people are dead in the south after dozens of reported tornadoes. Senior meteorologist Rob Marciano is outside New Orleans with the latest.
Tornado is still there.
A tornado outbreak hitting Louisiana for the second night in a row.
It's right there by my house.
Deadly and destructive tornadoes hammering the state. At least 3 people now dead because of the storm. Drone video capturing one ripping through the west bank of New Orleans. A massive funnel cloud seen looming over the city from the highway. And we were right there on the ground as the threat unfolded.
New Orleans now under a tornado warning. The rotation about 5 miles that way, just over the Mississippi. But with all this rain, we won't see it coming, and it's heading right for downtown.
Louisiana not the only one reeling. At least 50 tornadoes reported from Texas to Florida since Tuesday morning. Brandon Mellarine is a boat captain on the Mississippi. And he tracked the tornado for over 4 minutes, capturing the moment it crossed the river. Neighborhoods in places like Harvey shredded. Residents here in shock.
I survived, Katrina and Rita and all these things I've survived. I've been so lucky, and I guess it catches up to everybody at least.
Amanda Dufresne in her home of nearly 15 years when the tornado hit, away from her husband.
And I just grabbed the kids, put them on the ground, and got on top of them.
Parts of the house now destroyed.
What did you feel when you saw her down the street when you got here?
Everything else will be rebuilt and bought. You can't replace that.
Well, we're certainly glad that that family is reunited and safe. Right next to their home is this house, which was lifted up off its foundation and then slammed violently to the ground. Out into exterior walls kind of collapsing in. The family was actually inside that home. They describe it as being lifted and dropped by a faulty elevator. They're okay, as is everybody on the street miraculously. And you can see all the damage. Actually, now people are filtering back to their homes. A lot of them stayed with friends and family last night. But there's big sections of roofs, big sections of walls here that have come flying off areas. A lot of debris on the roadways, obviously, here. And this poor man's home, Mr. Toops, we just met him. That home, obviously, is unlivable. And this is not the only tornado that came through this area in southeast Louisiana. We had one just up the road in Laplace that had a lot of damage there, and one in New Iberia which had damage and injuries. This is one of 50+ reported tornadoes across 48 hours from Oklahoma all the way down to Florida, where there still is a threat today. Diane?
Yeah, tough times there for people there now, no doubt. Rob Marciano, thank you. And I'd like to bring in Lieutenant Governor of Louisiana, Billy Nungesser, on the phone for more on the aftermath of these tornadoes. Lieutenant Governor, thank you for joining us. What are the search and rescue efforts like right now?
Well, now that, since sunup, they've been out trying to get to some of the areas where the major destruction is. It's been spread across all of Louisiana. All 64 parishes had bad weather, but from North Louisiana to the south tip in New Iberia, and then over in Gretna, Orleans, and Jefferson. So these tornadoes touched down in every part of the state, which made the effort spread out across the state a little more difficult, that it wasn't just concentrated on one area.
Now, tornadoes are often concentrated, but in this case, there were so many of them that, as you said, the damage is pretty widespread. So how is that complicating your efforts to try to get to people and to assess the damage?
Well, it spread people a little thin, but we've got great sheriffs in all of those parishes that are working with the first responders to get out in those areas. And then also the aftermath of housing people. It's Christmas. We're moving mobile trailers into our state parks in all of those areas so we can house those people and try to have some kind of Christmas for them and get them back close to their home. It's just a difficult time with so much widespread, and these trailers that were completely destroyed and they lost everything. 30 to 50 is the estimate about now that a home's unlivable.
So what are the next steps here as the state starts to sort through all of this?
Well, getting the power back on, I think we're down to about 10,000 homes that don't have power. They've done a great job overnight getting those numbers down and then getting those people back close to their home. So we are right now moving trailers, travel trailers, into our state parks in those communities so they can start to clean up and be able to live there while they're rebuilding. And we've done this after other tornadoes, so it's getting them back into that area as quickly as possible, especially with these kids around Christmas. And we want to keep the people that lost loved ones. You know, we had 3 deaths, 2 in Caddo Parish and 1 in St. Charles Parish. And it's just a horrible time of year to have any kind of tragedy, but we want to keep those people in our prayers.
Yeah, we sure do. And so, Lieutenant Governor, what's your message to the people of Louisiana right now?
Well, we've got to help our neighbors, and we always do that after hurricanes. We got lucky this year for hurricane season, and this is unseen tragedy that struck every part of our state. So we'll get through it, but Louisianans help our neighbors, and we need everybody to help these families out during these tough times.
All right, Lieutenant Governor of Louisiana, Billy Nungesser, we appreciate your time today. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
And after the latest interest rate hike, the Fed is now signaling they expect to continue hiking rates next year. It means new home and auto loans could get more expensive, and if you hold a credit card and carry a balance, it'll cost you. Chief Business Correspondent Rebecca Jarvis is at the New York Stock Exchange with the latest. Hi, Rebecca.
The Fed's #1 priority is stomping out this historically high inflation. And even though prices have been cooling, they're still expected to remain stubbornly high through at least 2024, if not 2025. To that end, the Fed will continue hiking interest rates into next year as much as 5.5%. So what does that mean in real terms? It means the cost of borrowing gets more expensive. Think new car loans, new mortgages. At the same time, even if you're not planning on making a big purchase, it will hit you in your credit card, especially if you're carrying a balance. The average balance right now in the United States, $6,200. If rates climb as much as anticipated next year, that will cost you an additional $740 if you're only making the minimum payments. And it's really something to keep in mind as we head into the holidays. Americans are taking on more debt. It's climbing at the fastest pace in 15 years. Where you do benefit when rates climb is that eventually prices do come down and you get paid more money to save. And it's a really good idea if you've got your money in the bank to look around at all the competition, because some banks right now are offering much better rates on those high yield savings accounts. Diane?
Good advice, Rebecca. Thank you. And FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried is fighting extradition to the U.S. after being charged with 8 counts of criminal conspiracy and fraud charges. The criminal investigation comes as Congress is also investigating why FTX collapsed. Investor Kevin O'Leary of TV's Shark Tank, which is produced by our parent company Disney, was among those affected. Here's a part of his testimony before the Senate Banking Committee about losing millions in the crypto crash.
I entered into an agreement with FTX to be a paid spokesperson. I was paid approximately $15 million for these services, plus approximately $3 million to cover the portion of the taxes due. The equity is now most likely worthless, and the accounts have been stripped of their assets and, interestingly, financial records. I've written them all off to zero. The collapse of FTX is nothing new. While this situation is painful for shareholders, employees, and account holders, in the long run, it does not change this industry's promise.
And Kevin O'Leary joins me live now for more on this. Kevin, thanks for being on. I know you were a critic of cryptocurrencies before investing in FTX. So what changed your mind? And what was it about FTX that won you over?
You know, I guest lecture a lot in many colleges and universities, and what I started to see happen, and a lot of these are graduating cohorts of engineering classes where about 1/3 of them are going to be entrepreneurial. That's why I do this. And I slowly started to see that the majority of the class, the ones that were really great coders, wanted to go work on blockchain. And at the same time, the regulatory environment was changing. It was getting more open in jurisdictions like Canada, Switzerland, United Arab Emirates, Abu Dhabi, et cetera. So it occurred to me as an investor, you can't put this much intellectual capital to work and not expect incredible outcomes. And so the hottest hands over keyboards today work on the blockchain and crypto technologies. And that's, as a result, I've become an investor. When things change, I change. I'm a fiduciary. I have to go and decide where to put capital to work. And certainly I look for new opportunities. This is like being able to invest in the internet in the early days.
Now, Kevin, you defended Sam Bankman-Fried after FTX's collapse, and you even said that you would back him again if he came to you with another opportunity. Why is that, and has his arrest changed your thinking there?
Well, I said that before there was any allegations of all of these nefarious activities, but my point is, for the last 15 years, I have often invested in entrepreneurs that have experienced catastrophic failures, and I will continue to do that. Now, regarding Sam Bankman-Fried, he has to clear his name. I don't know what the outcome is going to be. Nobody does. Clearly, he's been charged, and we're beginning of a legal process. Obviously, I can't invest in that. But my point is, entrepreneurs learn from catastrophic failure. And for the ones that are able to come out the other end alive, they're better off for it.
And now, Kevin, if he is convicted, how would you like to see him held accountable? What does justice look like to you?
Well, I've asked to be put on the credit committee. I've applied for a position there. Normally, in venture investing, 8 out of 10 investments would fail, and that happens all the time. In fact, you know, if I had to sit in front of the House every time one of my investments failed, I'd need an apartment there, because that's just the nature. That's the nature of venture investing. The 2 unicorns you get out of 10 are how you make your returns. I guess what I want to do now with this one is stick with it. I intend to teach this in my courses, in class. I want to stay with it. I want to try and recoup as many assets as I can. I'm putting my own resources into a forensic audit. I'm intrigued by how they're able to scrape all the files, the transaction files. You heard from John Ray as well that he has to put this piece together. But the credit committee would be a good place for me to go to work and try and recoup as much capital as I can through Madoff-like clawbacks.
And Kevin, you said in your testimony that we need to get to the bottom of what happened at FTX, but you also say we can't let this collapse cause us to abandon, in your words, the great promise and potential of crypto. So knowing what you know now, what's your advice to those who may be considering investing in crypto but aren't super comfortable with the space?
Well, I think the lesson learned by all is that you cannot invest in an unregulated exchange or broker-dealer. That's primary number one. And so, and I must say, I sensed in the House on the floor of that Senate hearing yesterday, there's a frustration now. These leaders, these lawmakers, these policymakers have had enough of this. They don't want to keep having hearings every 6 months for the next crypto company to blow up and go to zero. So I expect to see some very swift reaction to this now that it's so in front of the public eye, and every week another billion lost. People are tired of this. There's a way to solve it. You simply regulate it the way we do stocks and bonds, and now's the time to do that.
O'Leary, we appreciate your time today. As always, thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
You too. Coming up, a survivor of the mass shooting at the University of Virginia is breaking his silence. Michael Strahan has that ABC News exclusive interview after this. Welcome back. A survivor of the University of Virginia football team shooting is breaking his silence. Michael Hollins Jr. is still recovering from being shot in the back, but says he has a story he needs to share. Michael Strahan has more.
So I knew in that moment that, you know, God had his hand on my life. It just felt so surreal. Knowing I'm in the middle of, you know, UVA campus, a place where I felt really safe before.
University of Virginia football player Michael Hollins Jr. speaking out after surviving a shooting that killed 3 of his teammates and injured another student. A fellow student is charged with opening fire inside a bus as the group returned to campus from a field trip last month.
When did you realize something was wrong?
Once I got up and the bus was stopping is when the gunshots, you know, started ringing out. In that moment, I knew we had to, you know, get off that bus because it could get a lot worse. Me and another teammate were the only 2 to get off the bus. Mm-hmm. And I turned back and I look over my shoulder and I realized, you know, we're the only 2 running. I didn't really think much in that moment. It was just literally an instinct and a reaction to go back.
You say you were 3 or 4 steps on the bus.
Yeah.
And you see him coming off the bus.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, he was just so close, and I felt so hopeless and so powerless in that moment.
Did he say anything?
Nothing at all. He just, I mean, we locked eyes, and that was it. It was just a cold look. It was, I don't know, it was just like a numb look. And, you know, in that moment, I just dropped everything and took off running. I felt him hit me in my back, but I knew I wasn't going down without a fight, and I found a pre-med student. And that was God again. She was there to help me. She kept me calm, you know, kept my breathing under control, was checking my pulse, and until the ambulance came.
Christopher Parnell Jones Jr. was charged with the shooting. How well did you know him?
I didn't know him. I didn't know him at all.
At all?
I had saw him that morning before we got on the bus.
And what was his demeanor when you saw him that morning?
He was looking normal to me.
And Deshaun Perry, Devin Chandler, Lavelle Davis Jr., they were your teammates.
They were.
And they were all killed in the shooting. When did you find out that they didn't make it off the bus?
I found out 2 days later. I found out because I went straight to surgery because I think I got hit in the small intestines, kidney, and they were trying to see if it damaged my bladder. By the grace of God, it missed my spine by, I think, 2 centimeters or something like that.
What was it like when you found out they didn't survive?
I've never cried like that before. I mean, I lost a brother that day. I loved Lavelle with all my heart, loved Devin with all my heart, but Deshaun, it was different with him. It was, man, that was my brother. So it was tragic hearing that he was gone.
And if you could say something to the shooter, what would you say to him?
I just would love to ask if he knew the magnitude of his actions in the moment. Like if he ever thought how many people will be affected for the rest of their lives.
And how has this whole thing changed you?
It's just, I've never been as, like I said, vulnerable or emotional, but now it's just like, I don't really care. I can't control it. I'm not afraid to, you know, tell my friends or my teammates, I love you, you know, looking forward to seeing you again and really meaning it now.
I gotta say, even sitting here now and listening to your story, and the way you're composed about it is just mind-blowing to me.
I'm doing it for, you know, my brothers I lost.
It's like the same responsibility you felt that made you turn around is the same responsibility that you feel to tell your story.
Right. I'm still doing it for the people I love, for the people that were on that bus, and everything I do from here on will be, you know, in their name, in their light, and I just want to do as much as I can to keep their, you know, their flame lit.
All right, thanks to Michael Strahan for that interview. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We are kicking off our new series, Brightly, today. We're partnering with our friends at GMA Digital to brighten your day a little bit with some feel-good news. And today's guest is getting us in the holiday spirit with his incredible gingerbread creations. Wait till you see this. John Levitch has been recognized by the Guinness World Records multiple times for making the biggest entirely edible gingerbread village. And John joins me now to talk all about this year's Gingerbread Lane display. John, I still can't believe that you built that all yourself. We're talking 700 gingerbread houses, 4,000 pounds of candy, 1,000 pounds of gingerbread. How do you do this? How does this all come together?
A tolerant wife, a lack of sleep, a really crazy mind that dreams up all this weird stuff, and just a general enjoyment of seeing how happy it makes people. That's how I get it done every year.
You work on this every single day. Walk me through the process.
Yeah, winter's getting ready to start, and Christmas is getting ready to happen, and that means I'm getting ready to start next year. I'll literally start the next year's work somewhere around the 20th, 22nd, and I'll start with all the little Santas and nutcrackers, snowmen, things like that, and then I'll get started baking right away, start with some of the bigger ones. Not too bad this time of year. January through March, I get to have a life, watch football, go skiing, get reacquainted with my kid, that sort of thing. And once Easter hits, the calendar kind of bears down on me. I start working a lot more. And then once late May hits, I'm putting in 60 hours a week already, just kind of getting these ready for all around the country. And we have exhibits all around the country. We're here in New York City. We have one in Kansas City. We had one in Salt Lake City. We've been in Florida.
How did you get into this?
Accidentally. I mean, it's not like you go to college and you sign up for the program to learn how to make gingerbread houses. I did want to do something a little bit more ambitious, like be a band director in high school or something, but I ended up becoming a chef on accident. And this was a side hustle. And when you're a chef, you really don't have time to do something on the side. So I had to pick something, and I picked the fun thing. And it's great. It's a lot of work. It's a tremendous amount of travel, a lot of labor, but you get to be home all year. You get to be home with your wife and kid and that sort of thing, except for November and December. And the rest of the year, you get to be home. So, and then during the season, I get to go all these places and see all these smiling faces. It feels great to see how happy people are because of my work. It's a really good feeling.
And talk to me about this house here, because you said this house is older than you are.
This house is actually 2 months younger than me. They wanted me to bring something to the studio today, and the weather is too humid, so I couldn't bring anything. But I was like, wait, I got this guy here. And this house, as irony would have it, was made the same year I was born, 1976.
Wow.
And was gifted to me. I don't know if gift is the right word for an old gingerbread house, but many years ago, a gentleman, him and his wife, pulled it out every year. And in 2014, she actually passed away, and he didn't want to throw it away. So I took stewardship of it. We put it out with the exhibit every year and let people see it. And as a general reminder, these things do last forever if you want them to. These things are really solid,
And I know the gingerbread lane is on display, and I know you are very soon to start working on next year's design already. John, we appreciate you coming on today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And you can find more Brightleaf stories at goodmorningamerica.com. I'm Diane Macedo. We'll be right back.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.